Do we have Carrie?
We don't have Carrie and we don't have Yuri, it looks like we're missing.
Oh, I did want to mention one thing really quickly before we get started and start admitting folks is, Sarah, if you can just, as we close out the entrepreneur panel and we are then shifting to our second expert speaker session, if you could pause, please, and we will have our poll questions launched at that time. So if you can just announce that we're going to be launching our poll questions in both English and in Ukrainian, and ask people to please answer those questions as appropriate. That would be super helpful. Thank you. And then we can literally just maybe pause for just a couple of minutes, 1 minute, 90 seconds, give people a moment to answer the poll questions. They do pop up on the screen, so they're a little bit disruptive. So we don't want them necessarily, sitting in front of the screen while people are talking. So it's a little bit awkward, but it does give people a chance to respond to the topic today. So we want
Sure.
to give
So that's after the entrepreneur panel and before the second expert discussion panel?
Exactly. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. I think it might be noted on the run of show, but I'm not sure. I know I added it, but it's a little bit buried. So
yes.
All right. I'm
just
going
sent
to
Carrie a note, and so we'll.
Oh, thank you.
Hey guys. Hi. Good morning.
Hello. Hey everyone.
Was that you that just joined? No.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I think we should probably get started. We are at the top of the hour. We're 1 minute past. Thank you for everyone who is joining us this morning for our fifth in our series of conferences. I am going to very quickly turn this over to our amazing moderator who has joined us this morning. Sarah Nickel is our commercial officer working with the U.S. Commercial Service, the International Trade Administration, U.S. Department of Commerce, as a business representative and supporter of U.S. business and U.S. trade interests at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv. And we are just so honored to have Sarah joining us this morning. She will be taking over and hosting and managing our fifth conference today. So with that, I will turn that over to Sarah. Thank you for joining us, Sarah, and thank you everyone who's joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Susan. Hello and welcome everyone to the U.S. Department of Commerce's and the U.S. Department of State's fifth virtual conference to support Ukrainian women and women entrepreneurs throughout Ukraine. Thank you for joining today. A quick note that interpretation is available by clicking on the globe icon located at the bottom of your screen. Like Susan said, my name is Sarah Nickel. I'm a commercial officer at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. I have been working at the embassy in Kyiv for 1.5 years now, and I'm constantly impressed with the level of innovation, entrepreneurial spirit, and the strength of the Ukrainian business community, especially women business leaders, as we work together to strengthen the commercial and economic ties between the U.S. and Ukraine. I don't have to tell this group, as you all know well, but a key part of Ukraine's defense against Russia's continued terrible invasion is its economic resilience. A bit about what we do as the Department of Commerce representatives at the embassy. Commercial officers play a key role in commercial diplomacy by advocating for U.S. businesses abroad, addressing trade barriers, and promoting fair market access. We work closely with our counterparts in the Ukrainian government, business leaders, and international organizations to strengthen economic ties, resolve trade disputes, and advance U.S. economic interests. Our team at the embassy consists of 2 American officers and 6 local commercial specialists who are experts in specific sectors and work closely with U.S. and Ukrainian companies. I'll be very happy to share my email address and connect you with the specialist who covers your sector if you have any questions or would like to connect. Thank you again for joining us today for this exciting and timely discussion. This series of conferences is important as it helps us to assess the needs of Ukrainian women entrepreneurs so that we can most effectively work with the private sector and our government colleagues to advance our shared commercial and diplomatic goals. Our goal is to use this information from these discussions to shape our policies and programming. Your participation has a direct and important impact. The organizers will compile the findings from our discussion to inform policymakers in the United States and Ukraine to create a better understanding of the specific market reforms needed in Ukraine to more effectively support Ukrainian women entrepreneurs and position you for success. Before we get into today's program, I have a few quick housekeeping reminders. Interpretation is available throughout today's conference. Presentations in English will be interpreted into Ukrainian and presentations in Ukrainian into English. If you need interpretation, open the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select the language for interpretation accordingly. All attendees will remain muted so that we can move smoothly through our very full agenda. And we are recording today's conference. If you prefer not to be part of a recorded event, this is your opportunity to sign off. We will send all registered participants a copy of the recording from today's presentation. Please use the chat box at the bottom of your screen to type in your questions for the speakers. We hope to have time to get to each of your questions. And with that, I'd like to again welcome everyone to today's conference titled Assessing Barriers to Business Operations, Infrastructure, Logistics, and Supply Chains. We have an excellent group of speakers here today. We'll be hearing from expert speakers from organizations involved in growing international trade, voices from women leaders involved in innovative housing programs, and leaders in shipping and logistics, all key to maintaining and growing Ukraine's economy. Again, we're glad you're here, and we hope you'll be able to attend the final virtual conference in January as well. Today's conference is made up of 3 parts. There will be 2 keynote speakers. Then we will have a moderated discussion between 2 innovative leaders in housing before moving on to our entrepreneur panel, where we will hear from women business owners about their experience in exporting. The entrepreneur panel will be followed by a discussion between 2 leading logistics companies, one with global perspective and one with deep knowledge of issues faced by exporters in Ukraine. We will then close with a final keynote from the U.S. Department of Commerce. Following the panel discussion, we'll be launching a series of poll questions that we would like all of our attendees to answer. It's important that the organizers hear from you. Your responses will help shape the final report and recommendations. And finally, one last reminder that you can access your preferred language by opening the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and changing it for English or Ukrainian as needed. Without further delay, please allow me to welcome our first keynote speaker, Olga Merezha, Executive Director of the European Business Association in Ukraine. The European Business Association works to unite international businesses around Ukraine and make progress towards policy developments to improve the business environment to make Ukraine a great place to do business. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and I'm very happy to speak at the event, and thank you very much to the U.S. Department and the U.S. Embassy for paying particular attention to the sustainability of women and business and private sector in general in Ukraine. So while my colleague will upload the presentation, I will start with the first page just to explain a little bit who we are, because Sarah just explained that we help businesses to make their life easier in Ukraine. But a few words about us. We are one of the biggest business associations and most powerful association in Ukraine, in the country, and we operate already 25 years. This year we celebrated our anniversary, and basically our team consists primarily of women. We have 70 people on the payroll, and 70% of them are women. And our key thing is actually to make sure that mission of the EBA, which is bringing European business practices and values to the country, are being perceived, and basically transparent and legitimate needs and interests of our member companies are being heard by the government, so that we all together with the business community and other stakeholders manage to introduce in Ukraine equal rules of the game. And it's in really in numerous sectors of the business activity. And the priority number one for us is advocacy, and the rest of things is obviously education, networking, B2B matching, and also regional presence, because EBA is present not only in Kyiv, but also in 4 other cities in Ukraine. And 2 years ago, when the war started, we decided to launch our global dimension, our sister organization, and we registered that in Switzerland. And the idea of that institution is to create around Ukraine already a network of companies which could be interested to work in Ukraine or with Ukraine. So now let me actually shift my attention to transport and logistics, because within the European Business Association we have actually a number of our logistics and transport companies, and also logistics committee, which already for 5 years in a row makes infrastructure index and also collects from the market how the sector really feels. And here on this slide you will see that how the situation looks like in general, and how many companies are working, how many are not. And here we have a good first portion of good news. Almost 70% of our members and logistical companies are working fully. Basically 18% work, they have stopped, but nevertheless partially resumed their activities. Then 11% work has stopped, but nevertheless they actually resumed now fully. And only 2% of our companies stopped their business in transport and logistics sector. On the next slide, you would see that actually what is the general direct damage to Ukrainian transport infrastructure because of the war. So basically we see around $37 billion, which are actually, which the transport and logistics business really pays for this terrible invasion from Russia. So, and here you see also the basically the difference in dynamics of percentages versus years. I think that this is also very important to reflect and detect this graph. Then on the next slide, you would see probably the level of damage. And you would see also that actually the number of companies which consider the damage to their business as significant is substantially high. So it's like 56% of companies declare that their damages are critical, are significant. And you would see here that in comparison to 2022, so basically the figures are more or less the same. So we had a little bit of facilitation or relief last year, but nevertheless this year basically the damages, substantial damages returned. Then on the next slide you would see basically the plans of companies and infrastructural sector to restore facilities. And basically the numbers are as follows. 41% of respondents say that actually they actually restored their facilities. 28% believe that they will actually restore them after the war ends. 25% will restore them soon, assuming most likely that the war is going to be ending soon. And only 6% said that they will not restore infrastructural facilities. Then on the next slide, you would see the general information on indirect losses to the Ukrainian transport infrastructure. And actually this number, which reach out to $39 billion, was received by Kyiv School of Economics, because our counterparts also calculated what are the losses being caused by various troubles, such as also strikes at the Polish-Ukrainian border, and what kind of losses it brought to the sector. And also we as European Business Association also analyzed what are the losses to our members from the strikes at the Polish-Ukrainian border. And here you would see that actually 98% of our respondents faced increase of the transportation costs. So basically almost 100% really felt the impact of those strikes. And then also 700,000 euros are average losses to the strikes per company. And basically 57% of our respondents declared that they have lost orders because of the strikes. On the next slide, you would see investments, the slide on investments in logistics and infrastructure facilities. And here, actually, you would see the split of answers, where actually almost 60% say that they would invest into that sector, and whereas 40% believe that no. And where normally these investments would definitely go. So modernization of existing facilities, this is number one priority, almost 60%. Then also new facilities will be upgraded. It will be also acquisition of existing assets. So basically redistribution on the market, which will take place and takes place at the current stage. I would say that on the next slide that we are looking also at the different aspects of investments as well. Basically why companies decide to invest. They would like to expand operations within Ukraine. This is number one. Then second, they also believe that it's necessary to invest in order to expand outside of Ukraine. They would like to invest to ensure energy independence. This is also a very important point, because as you probably all know that actually we also experiencing severe blackouts. And also they invest in order to increase security of their objects because of the shelling, constant shelling from Russia. And then also you have in the second part of the slide is that actually type of investments which are being used. So basically the majority, as you see, are using their own funds, around 80% of respondents. But nevertheless, some are also used money from the banks and basically debt financing. And only 9% use grants. And it can only confirm, I guess so, that actually there is not so much of availability of grants funding at the market, even despite the fact that actually everybody is saying that there is plenty of opportunities, but still at the graph you see that actually there is really not so much of use of these grants money for investments. And when it comes to source of financing, so again here we see that majority of investments come from inside Ukraine rather than from outside. Only 39% comes from outside of Ukraine. So at the next slide, you would see actually why people are actually hesitating to invest into Ukraine. And major focus nowadays for companies is actually to maintain their current activities, and that it distracts them from actually investing into new facilities. This is the main factor which stops or actually limits, I would say, investments into the future investments in future facilities. Then the second thing is actually that people are afraid of losing investments because of security situation. And this is number two reason. Number 3 reason is actually inability to attract external financing. This is also a very difficult point, and I think that it's worthwhile to consider. And then the 4th factor is lack of own funds, and it is probably very much connected to the previous point, because obviously if they cannot have their own funds, obviously they are looking for financing, external financing, and if it's not available, we have a problem. And only 5% of respondents are responsible for other limiting factors. On the next slide, you would see basically key challenges for logistic, transport, and infrastructural sector. And here, number 1, or the winner of hit parade is actually shortage of personnel. This policy which we are experiencing in Ukraine, which is related to mobilization, unfortunately caused lots of troubles on the labor market of Ukraine. And here it's only an evidence that not only in logistical sector, but in many others, we have an issue of shortage of personnel. And then the second challenge is increase in in the costs of logistics, but it is also connected to the first factor. And the third challenge is actually limited operations of marine terminals, and that's why it will actually lead to the plea from the business community is actually to ensure that the sea transportation really works. And the rest of things, obviously, they are a little bit minor, but still visible and tangible, such as shipping hazards, reduced demand as well because of less of business, and reduced exports and imports due to lower production and electricity shortages. On the next slide, basically we would see the key priorities to stabilize transport and logistical market in Ukraine. And here we would see 5 main priorities. I would think that number 1 is related to the sea transportation. It's really very essential and very necessary to maintain this operation of the seaports and sea connections, and it is especially important for both agricultural sector and metallurgical industry. So it goes without saying that it's necessary to maintain the transport channel. The next thing is necessary to actually boost PPPs because it's really very important in that area. Then the next priority thing actually for the business community is actually introduced more accessible risks insurance, political risks insurance schemes for investors. This is also very important. And the 4th thing is actually the need to adopt the law on Ukraine's railway transportation. And number 5 thing is actually targeted state support for certain transportation projects which are really necessary to undertake. And on the final slide, you would see that actually the question to our companies whether they plan to invest in 2025 or not, especially those companies which operate in logistical and transport area. And here you would see also a piece of good news, because actually almost 70% of our members said that they plan to invest into their activities in 2025. And I believe in the framework of the war, this is really very good indicators. And another thing of positive news is that our members started to think about how to structure their business after the war is over, because in 2023 it was not available, this kind of sentiment and sense, but nowadays, yes, this is actually the trend. So with this, I would like to stop and thank everyone, and actually wish everyone to have really very nice panel discussions and very contentful actually solutions which might come out from this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for the overview and actually the ending on a bit of an optimistic note as well. It's good to see the looking forward towards the future investments. Thank you. Our next speaker is Marianna Kravchenko, Export and Marketing Consultant with Sunrise Export Taskforce, which trains and equips small businesses to export. Please join me in welcoming Marianna.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here among such community, and I'm grateful to the U.S. Department of Commerce and all engaged and VM Markets team, Kate and Susan, for organization of this beautiful conference and beautiful atmosphere of strong women business leaders. And I also would like to thank to my to previous speaker Anna Derevyanko. I was heard about this research that EBA has done together with partners, and it was really very interesting to listen to this now. So let me share the screen. Okay. So my presentation is challenges of Ukrainian companies on their way to export expansion. Since I am Marianna Kravchenko, I am expert practitioner with experience for business development and export expansion of the markets, and also EU certified consultant for export and marketing. I want to share with you the cases that I have in export, and also which have the customers to which we help to export and expand the business globally. So the challenge number one, and I would not say anything new, that business management and business development in full-scale war. And of course, our business has war risks, impossibility to reserve employees, lack of man-force. It's not new that sometimes people even are not able to produce the goods because for that are needed exactly only man-force. Some of them, of course, try to reconsider manufacturing and to learn women for this specifically man position, but you may understand that not every woman would be interested in this job. And as a result of all these shellings, blackouts, is increase of manufacturing expenses, because manufacturing, they have to purchase generator, they have to use it, they have to switch off. It also takes time for switching off, and after switching off, you need to install every equipment which is working. It's also the time for processing, time losses. So as a result, we are not so competitive as, for example, I consider our main European in European part country exporter, it is Turkey. Turkey is big dumping gear, and that's why our country and our exporters are not able to provide such a nice prices for exporters, for example, Turkish exporters, because they do not have these issues. And as a result, our businesses, no matter if they are women-led or not women-led, they are like this picture, as you can see. They're really heroes that try to survive, that try to tell that please trust us and take something from us and purchase from us, and we would complete and we would provide you and we would deliver. So with this, everything is happened with the help of some insurance and financial instrument or without, but our businesses do this and develop export. The next challenge is actually continuous export and import of the world with Russia, no matter of the sanctions. So we all are aware about the sanctions that are applied to Russia and to some citizens of Russia since 2014, actually. And despite this, there is export from EU countries, from USA, from Asia, from countries of the North, Central, and South America, and in general globally. I have me and our team, Sunrise Export Taskforce, we were doing some investigations regarding this with the help of database, and everyone who is interested, or probably anyone who knows where we could give this data that we have found about this export or import, of these countries, EU, Kazakhstan, especially Uzbekistan, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Israel, and other countries from Russia, I would be grateful to share this data with you and to cooperate in this case so the world could know. And also, what I noticed as a result of this investigation, that Republic of Kazakhstan really facilitates and it intermediates a lot in export and operations of Russia with the world. So what they do, they simply do, some countries are not afraid and they do directly export to Russia, but some do this via Kazakhstan with the notification of some Russian party, and in the consignment. And then since Kazakhstan and Russia do not have actually they have like custom, but it is more custom without custom, like EU, something like this. So I think this helps them to deliver the goods and as export and as import. And also there is low dumping prices from Russian exporters because they understand that not everyone wants to work with them due to the sanctions, due to some other moral aspects. That's why they give really explicitly low prices, and probably due to the range of ruble and currency, and that's why Ukrainian exporters cannot be competitive. And I tell this also from my experience to some customers who really left us and continue work with Russia. Because of these prices, actually. So the next challenge is the third one is impossibility or significant delay, more than 1 month, with receipt of payment in USD and Euro since 2014 for Ukrainian exporters. So main issues, what I faced were from the correspondent bank, Mellon, New York. And it was from such countries as like Central America countries, Brazil, and by the way, Kazakhstan. And also when we decided to change the currency, because in most of the cases it helped. So we decided to make the payment in Euro, and Bank Mellon, but it was office not in New York but in Germany. It also blocked this. So 1.5 months they were just delivering to us and then back. And officers of the bank in Kazakhstan told to our partner that this is because Kazakhstan is also like partly under the sanctions because they help. I don't know how it is, but probably bank protects such way. But also, as you can see, he protects whom? Us from not giving us the payment. I mean, us Ukrainians, from which he protects. This is the question that many exporters do not understand. And me personally, since 2014, I also lost the deals when the customers from Central America really could not pay just because the officer has seen the sanctions connected with Ukraine. There really exist such sanctions. Probably they shall be renamed. I don't know. But what is interesting that when they have seen these sanctions, they immediately said that, oh, we cannot send the transfer to Ukraine because you are in the list of sanctions. And when we have investigated, of course, it was these sanctions named connected with Ukraine. So I don't know how to teach these bank officers or what to do or to rename these sanctions, but it really makes life of Ukrainian exporters not easy. And also in our community, a lot of them continue lose the contracts because, for example, in Indonesia, they also could not receive the payments. Some national bank blocked it also because of the sanctions. So it's not understandable for us. And also there are such details that sometimes bank also cannot understand if it is occupied territory right now or not. So we have to provide a lot of documents that we are not in the occupied zone. But I don't know. This is more like, or just like additional information. But the more here on this slide is that due to the sanctions, Ukraine also suffers. challenge 4 and one of the top questions. I recently did a webinar with the colleague about export to Germany, and we got a lot of questions if the Polish strikers are not going to make strike again, like previous speaker Miss Anna said about this more detailedly, because it was really many losses and monthly delays, many commercial losses, a lot of transport increases due to these strikes on the Polish border. And another issue with logistic is, of course, again, with these strikes, this was like a consequence obligation to seal every cargo. So as I am aware, being an exporter, this happened because the Poland does not want Ukrainian goods to be in Poland agrarian, and they want to be on the transition. That's why they was created due to some conditions, created this law about obligatory sealing. And what is disadvantages of this law is that you have to enter the custom warehouse that actually does not belong to custom, does not belong to government. It's private ownership. So together with this law, somebody earns quite nice funds of money, because this varies in every city. There are different custom warehouses, and the tariffs really vary. So you may see it starts from 15 till 40 USD. And it is even not the most, not the biggest problem, because the biggest problem is for less truck-loaded shipments. If less truck-loaded shipment, for those who are not in logistic topic, it is when one truck has more than one exporter and more than one cargo declared in custom clearance. So, for example, if you're the second, the third, or any other consequent number exporter, you cannot just take the seal off. You must deliver with the special transport your goods to this custom warehouse, where comes also the driver with whom you make an appointment for export. And normally, depending on the volume, of course, it's also 300, 1000 USD, even such delivery in a city, but it costs. So this also increases operations for such an amount. And if we talk about SME, this is quite nice amount, 300 to 1000 USD just for operation. This quite nice amount to the deal as increase, and it gains. It not improves our competitiveness in front of export competitors from Turkey and other countries, and Russians actually the same. I mean, exporters. The next challenge that is also quite common within the Ukrainian exporters, it's SE marking certification, because there is, according to the law, this obligation to have this SE marking certification almost on every consumer product. So if we talk about toys, if we talk about building materials, if we talk about any like also technical, hydraulics, and whatever that, and especially that would be used by consumers, this must have this SE marking certification and marking. And what is the most challenge? That no such test in Ukraine. So of course there are some organizations that help to facilitate, but all this testing shall be made in EU laboratories. And as you may understand, it makes quite difficult and expensive to get such certifications. So I know a lot of companies which want to export, but they cannot, because first of all, they need this certification. And if they have several products, then several certifications. And of course, it really stops them a lot. And especially if you are a company who is beginner, not everyone is ready to make this certification. So actually, I decided to make like top 5, and I think I'm already out of the time. So thank you for your attention, and have a nice conference.
Thank you so much, Marianna. I think the top 5 organization was really helpful for us. So really looking forward to using what you've shared with us today in the future. Thank you. Our next 3 discussions will all be moderated by Carrie Gray. Carrie is a senior practice specialist in economic growth and trade with Chemonics International. Carrie is also an adjunct professor for shipping and international logistics with the Lake Washington Institute of Technology and is bringing a depth of knowledge in economic development and logistics to our conversations today. So we'll now shift to our first expert discussion with 2 innovative entrepreneurs who are addressing the urgent housing needs in Ukraine. Because of their unique position in the Ukrainian market, they will also have insights to share regarding any barriers they are experiencing with regard to supply chain, shipping, or other logistics. I'm pleased to welcome Carrie Gray, our moderator, and Natascha Grams, founder of Genesy Capital, and Olga Merezha, founder and entrepreneur and designer. Carrie?
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for hosting this conference from the Department of Commerce, and appreciation to W Marketplace for inviting me to moderate the upcoming 3 panels. So I would, as Sarah introduced me, I'm Carrie Gray. I'm with Chemonics International. We are a very large partner with the U.S. government and USAID in Ukraine. I'm also an adjunct professor in shipping and international logistics at the Washington Institute of Technology. So I'm very honored to be on this panel today. I'd like for my 2 panelists in innovative housing to please introduce themselves and speak a little bit about their companies and how they relate to logistics. And then we have a couple questions for them. So over to Natascha.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for putting together this amazing conference and also putting so much emphasis on women. This is delightful to see, so thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to contribute a little bit to this as well. So yeah, my name is Natascha Grams. I'm Ukrainian by birth, but I've lived in Germany for 32 years and now focusing with my company on bringing in the companies from Germany and also Europe into Ukraine, and also bringing in the financial investment that is needed. I'm a part of the Innovation Council as a part of the National Infrastructure Institute in Kiev. This is a committee focusing on scouting innovation in the construction sector and the infrastructure sector globally to bring it to Ukraine, adapt it, pilot it, and then also scale it, and working on a number of technologies there that we could bring to Ukraine. Yeah, over to Olga, I think.
Доброго дня. Щиро дякую за таку можливість. Дуже дякую усім, хто хоче нас почути та допомогти в цій ситуації. Я надихаюсь спілкуванням з вами, і я надихаюсь такою сесією. Хочу сказати, що мене звати Оля, я займаюся дизайном інтер'єру та архітектури. Я закінчила університет внутрішніх справ, працювала в Міністерстві юстиції та 15 років займаюся нерухомістю. Моя компанія у Києві. З 2019 року ми робимо інтер'єри. Та коли у мене була можливість покинути країну, ми з компанією розробили архітектурний проєкт модульних будинків для усіх біженців або для людей в Україні, у кого обмежені можливості. На сьогоднішній день я вже 2 роки займаюся просуванням проєкту модульних будинків «Вишиванка». Це українське ідеальне містечко для українців, для того, щоб зберегти код нації, та головне – це транспортировочні модульні будинки для повернення усіх додому, хто бажає. Статистика завжди змінюється, але на сьогоднішній день 50% емігрантів бажають повернутися до себе в Україну. Я хочу допомогти закрити перші потреби для жінок з дітьми, для самотніх людей, для людей похилого віку. Я хочу допомогти повернутися усім, хто не може купувати дорогі собі приміщення, щоб ми поверталися зі своїми модулями на свою землю, та, закриваючи перші потреби у житлі, могли йти працювати та займатися дітьми. Все, що від мене залежить, від мого досвіду, це співпраця з фабриками, співпраця з будівельними компаніями, пошук фінансування та інвестицій. Усе це я намагаюся робити. Маю досвід спілкування з інвесторами у Польщі. Маю досвід спілкування зі страховими компаніями, які не можуть зараз страхувати у війну, тому що дуже великі ризики. Тому маю пропозицію будувати модульні містечки у різних країнах. Оскільки вони транспортіровочні, ми можемо повертати модульні містечки, закривати понад 130 сімей одним містечком і зробити індексацію та саму архітектурну програму у кожній країні. Це може бути у Польщі, це може бути у Германії, у Бельгії і на сьогодні уже в США. Зараз я знаходжусь у Північній Кароліні, шукаю інвестування в Америці та намагаюсь усіми можливими дорогами допомогти кожному, хто цього потребує. Я можу зі свого досвіду сказати, що у мене багато виникає проблем. По-перше, це люди. Наші хлопці мобілізують, наших хлопців мобілізують. Тому найгірше, що для мене сталося, це нехватка саме чоловіків. Нехватка чоловіків, нехватка людей, які займаються у логістиці, та нехватка професіоналів, сантехніків, будівельників. Це те, з чим ми вже зіткнулися, і ми вже думаємо, як передати ветеранам якісь програми, щоб вони вже займались профільним будівництвом. Тому що нам потрібно будуть професіонали, а через пару років це буде ще більше помітніше. Далі, по-перше, це люди та проблема кадрів. Це з чим зіткнулася компанія. Люди відмовляються від проєктів, тому що при затримці реалізації любого проєкту іде втрата часу. Наприклад, робили проєкт в Америці, і щоб відправити контейнер з керамогранітом та алюмінієвим профілем, у нас вийшло затримки на 3 місяці. Це вплинуло на виплати. $40 тисяч не доплатили за затримку, і з цього тільки не отримали зарплату робітники в Україні. Тобто ми ж самі за ту затримку і не дотримували якогось фінансування. Це друга така проблема, з якою ми зіткнулися, що через логістику, через довге транспортування співробітники не отримують зарплату у повній мірі, як це там домовлялись на початку. Далі можу дуже багато говорити, дуже переживаю, дуже хочу допомогти кожному, хто зіткнувся, і хто має дітей, і хто має хворих батьків. І в цій ситуації можу тільки подякувати кожній жінці, яка мене надихає, мотивує. І за цю сесію я стала інше. І це дуже помітно. Дякую організаторам. Тримаємося разом, допомагаємо одна одному, та все буде добре. Дуже дякую.
Thank you so much, Olga, and Natascha as well, for introducing yourselves and your great work in housing in Ukraine. So my first question, and this is over to Natascha, is what do you see as the top 2 supply chain challenges facing the housing sector? And what strategies have you employed or have you seen employed to keep your projects on track?
Yeah, Thank you for the question. I think Olga already mentioned quite a lot of what I can just echo, maybe focusing really on man and woman power, let me put it that way, in the construction sector, and the lack of capital. It's also a very big topic because the construction sector basically stopped more or less in Ukraine. And even if you drive by, and there's a lot of requests hitting my desk where people are looking for capital because they can't finish the projects that they already started because of lack of capital and because of lack of people. So even if you have capital, you don't have the people most of the time to finish your construction projects, and starting new ones is very risky. So that's a big challenge. And also on the construction market, what you see is that right now, as roads are disrupted, the cost for logistics are rising, inflation has or went up previously. Now it's going down again, thank God. But that was a major factor for driving down the cost now, but it's still not where it should be and used to be. And also in the future, there is going to be a couple of materials, a couple of building materials that are going to be very scarce. They're not scarce now because the construction sector is not as active, but as it's going to pick up, there is a big report by the Confederation of Builders in Ukraine saying very clearly that cement and concrete are going to be extremely scarce, and it will be a demand by 10 times bigger than the production capacity of Ukraine. The strategies definitely need to focus on innovation. And there is a number of ways to look at innovation in the construction sector. First of all, of course, this is the import and collaboration with innovative companies, with innovative technologies, right? For example, modular housing in many ways. Yeah, you can have that on a very small level, creating small houses, but there is also a number of solutions that allow you to do concrete and even timber modular housing and build up quite big buildings with that in no time compared to regular construction. Because what you see in the construction sector is quite interesting. All of the other sectors, all of them developed during the last 100 years quite significantly. And construction is the only one that didn't have any efficiency increase. We're still building every house individually, brick by brick, and we're still planning it individually. So there's basically no standardization. There is very limited digitalization, and all of these technologies already exist. And the other point that I was going to make was two actually, is prefabrication. So if you find technologies like, for example, modular steel bridges, you can prefabricate them given the demand that you have in Ukraine and put them on hold somewhere in Ukraine and then just deploy them as destruction happens. That could drive down the cost significantly and increase the speed by a number of times. And the other thing, which I think particularly works with this conference, is there is a number of technologies now in construction that allow women to do the work that was previously done by men. Just because it's so innovative and it's highly robotized. For example, there is a German company who do, it's called the Wall Toaster. It's a mobile concrete modular factory that they put on the construction site. It's just 100 square meters, and a house can be built by 3 women, basically, and robotics. In a couple of weeks. It's implementing mechanisms for making those technologies visible and creating the instruments for them to go into Ukraine, securing the financing for those collaborations, piloting them, and then scaling up. That I think is could be a very efficient way to go.
Those are some fantastic ideas. Thank you so much, Natascha. I'm going to ask Olga the next question, which is, given modular housing approaches, given the upcoming lack of construction materials, given the workforce issues, given the supply chain issues, what would you see as effective partnerships for ensuring resilient supply chain development for innovative housing for Ukraine in the future? How could collaboration between the government, the private sector, potentially the international community, and some international technologies bolster supply chain resilience for innovative housing, and to address all of the significant upcoming needs for housing in Ukraine. Over to Olga.
Дякую. Я можу тільки ділитися досвідом, оскільки у нас в Україні дуже гарне будівництво і у нас дуже гарне виробництво, професіонали, ми можемо самі будувати такі будиночки. Але була пропозиція збудувати модульні будинки у тій країні, в якій буде тимчасово використовуватися земля в оренду. Таким чином, ми долучаємо наших партнерів також допомагати нам. Наприклад, коли я розмовляла у Польщі з президентом Польської господарчої ізби, я говорила про те, що ми долучаємо, по-перше, країну Польщу як найперший партнер до відбудови. Фабрики, робочі сили, усе це ми, так само як були варшавські модулі построєні на Західній Україні в перші дні війни та допомогли багатьом сім'ям. Але це були дуже тимчасові модулі. Ті матеріали, з якого це робилося саме для тимчасового перебування. Зараз ми розробили модулі дуже практичні. Технології дають можливість робити дуже якісно та перевозити будинки. Можу тут говорити дуже довго. Скажімо так, дуже багато допомоги бачимо ми з Польщі. Ми готові робити сумісні контракти, ми готові робити сумісну працю по матеріалам, по роботі, по проєктуванню, по транспортуванню, тому що ми коли прораховували, наприклад, одна фура вікон для будинку, який попав під ракету, це уже $50 000 просто, щоб замінити стеклопакети вікна. Тобто, працюючи з різними українсько-польськими компаніями, ми вже зараз робимо такі міцні ланцюги, і такі самі ланцюги уже зараз треба розмовляти з різними країнами. Давати можливість розказувати, яка у нас є земля, куди ми можемо заходити з відбудови, де буде більше всього потреб в населенню, яка буде демографія, тому що жінка буде народжувати тоді, коли вона буде бачити безпеку, коли вона буде чути, що вона соціально захищена і що вона може щось дати своїй родині. Уже все це зараз треба будувати як план 10 років, та наводити такі довгострокові контракти, я б сказала, з різними європейськими країнами, з Америкою, по-перше, це дуже ми вдячні, бо не витягнули б дуже багато. Ну і далі, звичайно, не боятися отих перешкод, з якими ми вже столкнулись, знаходити далі рішення. Якщо нема сантехніки, давайте ветерани будуть брати на себе якісь, ті, хто повернувся з війни, брати на себе ті обов'язки, хто може бути електриком, хто може які курси. Зараз дуже багато усього доступно. Ми можемо вже допомагати інвалідам, ветеранам з війни, бо вони нам будуть в потребі дуже сильно і дуже скоро. Не боятися, шукати можливість, пробувати домовлятися і реалізовувати уже все те, що ми прорахували. Дякую.
Thank you so much, Natascha and Olga. Really appreciate it. I think this generated a lot of interesting ideas in terms of what could be done and to address some of the significant challenges that Ukraine is facing with supply chains, including working across borders, so regional supply chain development, a significant focus on workforce and innovation that addresses some of the challenges, populations that currently aren't in the construction force. These innovations could help expand the labor force to include women and others, particularly veterans as well, into the construction labor force. So really appreciate your time and your participation on this panel. And unfortunately, we've run out of some time. If you'd like to continue the conversation, we'd love to, of course. after this conference. And yes, now over to Sarah again. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Natascha and Olga. I want to second Carrie. I think we could have had that conversation go on much longer, and I look forward to the follow-up, both from putting your inputs into the final report and then also potential future conversations, because I think it is so important. And thank you, Carrie, for your thoughtful questions. Next up, I'm going to turn it back over to Carrie. We have our panel discussion with Ukrainian entrepreneurs who each have a unique story to tell about the opportunities and barriers they have experienced in growing their businesses through exporting. Following this panel discussion, just a heads up, we will have time for questions for the audience. So if you have any, please put them in the chat using the button at the bottom of your screen. During the Q&A and after this one, there will also be poll questions posted for all attendees to respond to. These questions will pop up on your screen, and they are going to be a key element of the market assessment that the team is putting together in the final report. So we encourage each of you to take a minute to respond. Carrie, welcome back. Please introduce our next group. Thank you.
Absolutely. So our panel on entrepreneurship includes Christina, Halina, and Katerina, who represent three very different enterprises functioning across Ukraine and working to export and import products to keep their businesses going. So I'm going to hand it over to Christina to talk a little bit about Jungle Gifts.
Hello, my name is Christina and I am founder of Jungle. We do personalized leather accessories and specialize in gifting with wow effect. Over the 8 past years, we managed to grow from small family business to brand which has clients over than in 50 countries all over the world. And also work a lot with B2B customers, and we especially proud with our work with international companies like Maybelline, Sony, and Clarins. As owner of small business, I'm especially focused in creating high quality product and also to customize it, and of course to make logistic very easy to all over the world. So I'll be happy to share my experience with you. Thank you for inviting. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Christina. I'm now going to hand it over to Halina. And Halina, if you could introduce your electrical product company. I am not going to attempt to try to say the name. Yes, over to you.
Hello, my name is Галина Чебуровська. Я співвласник, а також комерційний директор заводу електровимірювач. Дійсно складна назва. І хочу сказати, що ми займаємося виробництвом кабінетів фізики, хімії, математики. Є у нас такий національний предмет вже сьогодні – це захист України. І ми працюємо це для сучасних і державних шкіл, профтех коледжей, училищ, а також університетів. Тобто у нас продажі – це B2G. Ми працюємо з нашою державою і, звичайно, у нас є складнощі в логістиці, тому що сьогодні, наприклад, от завтра ми будемо відвантажувати кабінети фізики, а це наш самий найкращий продукт, який ми експортуємо в Америку. І дякуємо Сполученим Штатам за підтримку, за те, що наш продукт дуже подобається американським вчителям, і вони його купують. Тим самим ви підтримуєте наше виробництво. Але ось завтра ми будемо відгружати і відвозити в таку область, як Ніколаїв. А Миколаїв – і це область, в яку постійно прилітають ракети російські. І, звичайно, труднощі в логістиці у нас величезні, тому що, по-перше, у нас дуже хрупка продукція, і ми її можемо вести дуже гарною упаковкою. По-друге, це водії, яких треба знайти. Їх дуже мало, тому що кожен день забирають водіїв на фронт, мобілізують. В нас, на превеликий жаль, водіїв не дають їм відстрочку від тому, що вони будуть служити в армії, і тому пошук водіїв з машиною, яка може поїхати на таку територію, це дуже складно. Ми іноді 2-3 тижні шукаємо машину, щоб завантажити і потім доїхати, і щоб в Миколаєві діти і учні отримали наше обладнання. А потім ще інша логістика, тому що наші методисти повинні приїхати і налаштувати це обладнання, і навчити вчителів. І не всі люди хочуть їхати, я відверто це кажу, тому що люди бояться, тому що не завжди встигаємо добігти до бомбосховищ. Але ми не стоїмо, ми продовжуємо працювати, і ми все ж таки знаходимо путі рішення, тому що нам іноді допомагають військові, дають свого військового водія, який сідає за кермом машини і возить в таку складну область нашу продукцію. По-друге, до нас долучаються студенти, які можуть по закону у нас пересуватися, і ще там їм 19, 20, 21 рік, і вони можуть бути експедиторами і допомагають нам. Звичайно, у нас сьогодні жінки – це наше все, тому що жінки у нас не призивного віку, і вони не призиваються. І тому сьогодні у нас на виробництві 70% жінок. Вони як в цехах у нас складають нашу продукцію, так і вони в складах відправляють і саме іноді супроводжують, тому що просто нікому їхати. Ми сьогодні намагаємося в березні, в квітні зробити величезну виставку в Нью-Йорку. Ми працювали і спілкувалися з мера Нью-Йорка, якраз коли я була в Вашингтоні під час поїздки, да, і вони дуже зацікавилися і сказали, що допоможуть нам зробити велику виставку, щоб зібрати вчителів зі всієї Каліфорнії, щоб ми показали це обладнання. І, звичайно, для нас це величезна підтримка. Підтримка того, що наші сьогодні конструктори, які залишилися ще на виробництві, вони не просто так працюють, вони відчувають свою відповідальність. По-друге, ми завжди багато отримуємо підтримки від Сполучених Штатів, як фінансування, так і зброї, але ми дуже задоволені, що все ж таки маємо продукт, який теж може вам дати. І сьогодні в нас така велика перемога є, тому що штат Колорадо-Спрінгс сьогодні приймав закон на рівні штату, що всі школи, які в цьому штаті є, будуть використовувати наше обладнання з фізики у всіх школах. Тому ми дуже вам вдячні. Звичайно, ще у нас є труднощі, це як ми пересуваємо свою продукцію за кордон в Америку. Раніше ми відправляли на Боріспіль, і у нас прямий літак прямував до Штатів, і там вже у нас була логістика, як ми розвантажували, доставляли до шкіл. Зараз у нас величезні труднощі, тому що машина, яка йде за кордон, треба мати міжнародний дозвіл. Не всі водії можуть це мати, тому що знову в нас іде війна. Отримати компаніям, які перевізники, щоб людина не йшла на фронт, це дуже-дуже сьогодні складно. У нас останні 2 місяці змінилися закони, і нам, якщо людина залишається у нас не на фронті, їй потрібно платити заробітну плату практично вдвічі більше, ніж та людина такого ж фаху, але яка не призовного віку. І це дуже боляче для нас, для бізнесу, тому що у нас і підвищені тарифи на електроенергію, і з водою у нас величезне питання, і ще у нас постійно вимикається світло. І, звичайно, сьогодні бізнес витрачає на те, що купує генератори, дивляться на якісь альтернативні джерела електроенергії, тому що ми не можемо зупиняти виробництво, тому що воно постійно повинно працювати. І сьогодні ми веземо свій вантаж на Польщу, і вже з Варшави ми літаком відправляємо на Америку. Це, звичайно, додаткова ланка витрат, додатковий термін, який ми вимушені це робити, тому що це плюс тиждень до того, щоб була поставка. Так, і, звичайно, це додаткові витрати. І додаткові ризики, що десь твій вантаж, може, якщо ми у нас іноді на Варшаву, іноді на Франкфурт, іноді зараз під Новий рік у нас Варшава просто стає, потім у нас є забастовки від польських, да, якісь там чи аграріїв, чи ніхто не хоче, і ми потім міняємо кордони вже дуже швидко. Нам треба сьогодні бути гнучкими і постійно ми моніторимо логістику. Тому ми не розслабляємося, звичайно. В нас свій фронт, і фронт – це наша освіта. Ми хочемо, щоб наші діти були освічені, тому що нам треба буде піднімати країну. І, звичайно, сьогодні, в зв'язку з тим, що багато вчителів поїхало за кордон в зв'язку з війною, ми практично навчаємо з перших шагів, тому що вчителі сьогодні іноді читають і фізику, і математику, і інформатику. Просто вчителів і людей не вистачає в країні. Тому дякую вам за увагу і буду рада всім вашим порадам, які ви нам зможете дати.
Thank you so much, Helena. And I think, obviously, we've moved both from your description, but we've moved into some of the significant logistical challenges facing businesses in Ukraine, particularly with the change in how supply chains are managed. Absolutely. So I'm going to hand it over to our third panelist, Katerina, with MHP. And along the way, Katerina, if you could also address some of the top 2 or 3 logistical hurdles. And then we'll ask one more question after that. And then please do, audience, start populating the chat with some of your questions for this distinguished group of panelists. Katerina?
Hello, dear organizations. It's better to say somebody good afternoon, and for somebody it's like good morning right now. And dear participants, my name is Katerina Nikolaenko. I'm the CEO and co-founder of MHP Turn Foods company. We produce an innovative healthy meat snack called Chicken Go. Chicken Go is like top-notch product that contains 81% of protein, 0 carbs, and no added sugar, and is not fried. It's really important to know. We have also entered the export market and are already represented in a number of European countries and United Arab Emirates as well. Our product has already won 2 international awards. The first one of them is the first place, the place for the best innovation case in Gulf Food in Dubai 2024. And the second one is the first place in the World Food Innovation Awards 2024 in London. Also, we were shortlisted at the exhibition in Paris in 2025, so this year. And one of the most important goals right now is to set up our business in the United States of America. I'm sure we can win the hearts of American consumers as our product is not only tasty, but healthy, and it follows the healthy lifestyle trend in the United States of America. But today, I can speak about my product so long. But today, my main goal is to talk about export evolution in Ukraine and the challenges that Ukrainian business are currently facing. So what do I mean by export evolution? It's Ukraine's potential to transition from raw materials exporter into supplier of high value added goods. Ukraine is a country of opportunities, home to high-tech services, innovation, and profitability, driven by talented and efficient people. 70% of victory depends on the state of economy. Not only our armies are fighting to protect our country, but it's also our people in the rear who are doing their best to keep the economy running. Export is one of the most effective tools for not only improving the country's economic indicators, but also establishing a strong reputation on the global stage. Therefore, export is a driver of economic progress. But it's really important to know that only a limited part of Ukrainian export currently consists of high added value products, goods. A significant share remains concentrated on raw materials, which limits country potential profits. And of course, if we'll speak about challenges and obstacles that we are facing right now, of course, our participants talked about it is, of course, it's logistic, seaports remain largely blocked, air transportation is not operational, border checkpoints are overwhelmed, making logistic one of the biggest bottleneck for export. And on the top of that, there are major challenges that affect logistic and supply chains, and constant shelling, workforce reduction as a result of mobilization. So it's really a little bit difficult right now, but we are strong and we are doing the best to keep economy running.
Thank you, Katerina. And please do populate the chat with any questions the audience might have for this panel. I'm going to ask Christina the first question, which is, or we're going to expand on that question, which is if you could share 2 or 3 of your top logistical hurdles, but also share some of the either surprising partnerships or new technologies or out-of-the-box approaches that you have adopted to overcome those logistical hurdles. That would be fantastic. Over to Christina.
Sound.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the question. Of course, I agree with Katerina and Helena. We have all the same difficulties as the lack of labor force, closed sky, to manage this logistic, but how we have adapted some way to this situation. We started to plan more the production. So this year we started to prepare to our high season in January, in the beginning of the year, because we knew that at the end of the year it will be blackouts, and we bought a generator, but it doesn't allow us to work in the high productivity. So we started to prepare more earlier to be ready for the high season. Also, we always try to find new suppliers for logistic who could make the delivery shorter for us. So sometimes my managers that work with supplies, they are feeling crazy because we have such a lot of delivery partners to work with, and so we made a guideline book for all the countries we work with custom duties, with delivery partners, and all information. It helps so much. Maybe it's easy decision, but it helps so much my team to work. And also, as I work a lot with B2C, one of the main reasons that made our conversion bigger was when we put the total cost of delivery, because we have small goods and the delivery is not so high, but when we included it in the price, it made customer easier to know what they will have when they will have checkout. So it's some simple insights, but I wanted to share the experience how we tried to adapt to this unstable situation.
That's fantastic. And I'm thinking, that you individually as a company have compiled this fantastic resource, and how that could be expanded or what have you across entrepreneurship in Ukraine. So over to Helena, you talked about having some of your products driven into Poland and then shipped out to the United States and other markets. Are there other top logistical challenges that you're facing? And in general, what are the surprising partnerships and technologies and new approaches that you've adopted to keep your supply chain intact and keep your customers happy? Helena, did you hear the question, or would you like me to repeat it? Are you ready? I know it's being translated.
With some problem with the sound.
Let's see. Helena, can you hear me? Can you? Okay, did you hear my question? Would you like me to repeat it?
Да, будь ласка, ще раз можна, тому що зв'язок пропав.
Yes. Yeah. No problem. So my question was, you talked about working through the logistical challenges in terms of driving some of your product into Poland and having it shipped out to other markets from there. I was going to ask if there are other logistical challenges you have faced, other supply chain challenges, and in general, what are the surprising partnerships or new technologies or approaches that you've taken to keep your supply chain intact and resilient, and satisfy the needs of your customers?
В нас, звичайно, є партнери, які допомагають нам в тому, що ми отримаємо швидку інформацію щодо змін в тому, як ми будемо вантажити в аеропортах наш вантаж. І ми, звичайно, можемо швидко змінювати логістику. У нас є спеціальна програма, до якої поєднуються у нас логісти. І логісти це в Польщі, логісти це в Німеччині, і логісти в Словаччині. І вони нам надають інформацію кожен день, що відбувається у нас на фрахтах в аеропортах. І завдяки їм якраз ми можемо автотранспорт, який у нас він іде до кордону, ми можемо його змінювати. І у нас було декілька випадків, коли ми їхали на Варшаву, потім ми поверталися, це, звичайно, додаткові затрати, але швидкість доставки до Америки, до стран, країн Балтики, куди ми постачаємо нашу продукцію, терміни для нас це важливо. І тому ми поверталися, їхали на Франкфурт на Майні, і там вже чергу для нас мали логістики місцеві, і вони нам в цьому допомагали. Ми вже приїжджали, і для нас черга вже була. Ми знали чітко, що ми там через 15 годин ми вже будемо груз мати на літаку. Оце у нас така є логістична система, компанія, декілька логістів, це у нас вони знаходяться, представники компаній логістичних, але ми з ними співпрацюємо практично кожен день. Тому що є погодні умови, і нам не дуже хочеться, щоб ми сплачували додаткові складські гроші за те, що будемо тримати додатковий день або 3 в аеропорту, це дуже дорого. І тому іноді ми машину залишаємо ночувати в місті, який до аеропорта, тому що це дешевше. І завдяки, якщо б не було таких партнерів, нам було б дуже важко. Ну, на превеликий жаль, у нас дуже багато важить наша продукція, тому ми не користуємося послугами нової пошти, яка у нас сьогодні працює і в Європі, і я думаю, що буде працювати і в Америці, але сьогодні для нас це просто дуже-дуже дорого. Ну і небезпечно. Тому у нас тільки машина, а потім вже літак.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And we will be hearing from Novo Global in the next panel, so we can ask some of these questions about logistics. Katerina, I wanted to ask you the same question. Have there been new partnerships that you've built, new technologies you've adopted, new approaches you've taken to your relatively new export market for your product in the midst of the terrible conflict going on? Would love to hear from you on that.
To tell the truth, it's hardly possible to come up with a creative solution in these circumstances. However, flexibility is highly important and it helps businesses stay on track. As for me, the best solution is to set up stop production and processing in Ukraine and export ready-made products to other countries. Such goods have a long shelf life, like our product Chicken Go, and don't need any special transportation condition, which solves some of the logistic issues. it's like the main solution that we can have right now to produce ready-to-eat product with added value in Ukraine and then export to other countries. It's very important to have and to find reliable partners abroad that trust us and trust, believe in our business and can give us like helping hand there with like product sales. So like this recipe for agriculture, it's like export revolution, value added goods.
Fantastic. Appreciate that very much. I have put up a couple calls for questions in the chat. Does anybody have any questions for this panel and all of the fantastic different ways that you've addressed some of these logistical supply chain challenges? Any additional questions? All right, I have one more for all of you, and this is kind of general based on your own personal experience rather than your company's, or it could be either. If you could give one piece of advice to fellow entrepreneurs in Ukraine that are facing similar challenges or that have similar products or that have similar interests, what would that piece of advice be in building up or scaling up their business?
To all participants.
To all of you, I'll start with Katerina. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, you should believe in your business. It's innovation and uniqueness. Secondly, you should never think that everything has been already produced or created by others and that you will never be able to come up with something special. Everything you do is really unique. Last but not least, don't let these challenging circumstances stop you. There will always be some disruption and obstacles. And let's take a look back to the different period of our lives. First of all, there was pandemic time, then full-scale war, and then there will be like a rebuilding time after war. We should understand that it was never easy and it will never be. But for instance, I founded my business during the pandemic times. I could use this time like for different films, for different sport activities, home sport activities, education and something like this. But I use this time like as opportunity to for creativity, and this is how I founded my lucrative business. So my main advice, my main point is that if you truly want to create something, you should just do it. It's the best advice that I can give you right now.
Thank you, Katarina. Over to Helena, and then Christina will have the last word on that one. Helena?
Хочу сказати, що в мене декілька секретів. По-перше, головний секрет – це постійно шукати партнерів. Що б не відбувалося, які б кризи не були, ти завжди зможеш знайти партнера, який тебе почує, підтримає, якому ти можеш дати теж якусь перевагу на ринку і в житті. По-друге, я не сказала, що ми знаходимося в місті Житомир, і в нас 200 людей працює на виробництві, і ще у нас дистриб'ютор наш ексклюзивний, це ще 60 людей. Жодного дня ми не зупинялися під час повномасштабної війни. І коли почалася війна, люди нам, робітники наші, казали, кому буде потрібно обладнання для освіти. Зараз треба дрони, зараз треба все на фронт. Але ми не зупинялися, працювали на склад, це були наші кошти оборотні. І, звичайно, якраз під цей час у нас і з'явився партнер в Америці, тому що він нас сам знайшов і сказав, що, ви знаєте, ми трохи раніше вас йдемо в прогресі, тому що у нас діти сьогодні всі в цифрі, всі в планшетах. І ми дійшли до того, що в школах не вистачає якраз того, щоб діти могли пощупати руками. І вони, дякую їм, не побоялися, що ми під час війни будемо розміщати їх заказ у нас. Як ми будемо доставляти, які у нас ризики є, нема світла, людей немає. Ми знаходимося біля кордону з Білорусією. Але оця довіра, знаємо, що ми готові на все, щоб наш партнер був задоволений. І я вважаю, що це стійкість внутрішня, це сила духу, і вона абсолютно, навіть ми тільки в Вашингтоні побачилися один з одним, з нашим партнером в Америці, тому що до цього ми не могли один до одного приїхати. І я думаю, що це довіра. Довіра – це величезний такий козир, який навіть всі камери, всі ефіри, ти можеш достукатися. І третє – це не зупинятися. Не зупинятися, що б не відбувалося, завжди рухатися. Бо рух – це життя. І я всім бажаю бути в цьому русі. І сьогодні бачила неперевершених жінок. І дуже вдячна всім за таку цікаву розмову.
Thank you. And Christina, I know you have the last word, but we also had one question come in the chat. If you could, bless you, if you could address one piece of advice to entrepreneurs and also something that helped you boost your creativity when it came to your business idea, which is a great question for you and Jungle Gifts. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you for two questions. The first one I want to say about creativity. The one thing that always inspires me, this is willing to learn something new. So when I'm learning something new, it always inspires me for new ideas, to meet new people and speak about my idea. So, you know, the most important to be inspired for me to have this entrepreneurial mindset when you all the time anytime you are working or not, you're speaking to some of the people, you are working in your mind, you are creating ideas during not only the time of work, but also when you go somewhere to conference or to travel or to meet new people. It always inspires me in different ways. So the best idea for creativity is to be open for new, not to be afraid to learn something, to meet people with another mindset, or to see something in spheres that you are not even interested maybe sometimes. So, and about the advice also for me is to plan ahead. Despite of this unstable situation, to stay resilient and to focus on the customer. So, you know, running business in Ukraine now is really challenging, but it teaches me to be really flexible and to be ready for anything. You know, when you have A and B point, you can go like this or like this to the point of B, but in Ukraine now we have different points A and different points B, so you have to be ready for anything changing all the time. Also, that helps try to build clear systems. As for me, it's important to build clear production process, to try some innovations that will make it faster, efficient, or even sometimes will need less people to do it. And also to work on shipping process. It's important because of sometimes we also ship to some places that are dangerous for now in Ukraine, or we ship abroad that could be people, you know, want their gift in time despite of any circumstances. So, and at the same time, I advise to focus on things that you can control, to listen to your customer, to rely on your team, We didn't stop the work only for one day. On 25th of February, my team came to work and they told, we have corporate orders to end, so we will work. It makes us important. So, and it was the big inspiration for me to continue to try to find customers, because in the end of February, almost 3 years ago, I thought nobody will need gifts for now because it's not important. So even in these uncertain times, small business and all businesses in Ukraine have to move forward to create something in instability, create whatever.
Fantastic. Thank you to all three of you, Helena, Katerina, and Kristina. This was a fantastic panel. Really appreciate your time and your advice for entrepreneurship in Ukraine and elsewhere. I think that's advice for anybody wanting to start up and expand their business. Back over to Sarah.
Thank you,
Thank
Carrie.
you.
Thank you, Christina, Helena, and Katerina. Really interesting insights and really appreciated your comments. I just want to flag for our audience that the websites for each of their businesses are in the chat. So that way you can take a look, get more information on them. And also, I believe now the poll questions will be popping up on your screen momentarily. So please take a second to answer them. I believe they'll also be in Ukrainian and English. When they do pop up, they will come up in the middle of your screen. So we'll continue our discussion so we can try to stay a little bit on time, but please take a moment to do them while you're listening to our next panel, which is an expert panel featuring 2 leaders in shipping and logistics. I'm going to turn it back over to Carrie to introduce our 2 experts. Go ahead, Carrie.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah. And on our next panel on shipping and logistics, we have Elena with Nova Global and Yuri with Logistics Plus. So I will let Elena start. If you could introduce yourself, talk a little bit about Nova Global. And in terms of, I know we've heard some significant logistical challenges that Ukraine is facing at the moment. I'd love to hear a little bit about how Nova Global has innovated to keep your operations running smoothly.
Thank you very much. First of all, of course, I would like to thank you for your invitation to speak at this conference. It's great honor for me. My name is Olena Tverdovska. I am director of Global Seller Division now at the company Nova Global. Nova Global, it's a part of a group of companies, Nova Posta. I think our audience knows this company for sure. And our division is focused on improving Ukrainian sellers to expand their businesses across international marketplaces. And our primary goal is to facilitate seamless export solution for sellers, for exporters on the biggest platform. And Woman Marketplace is also our partner. And we help our clients grow by providing them with the tools and support and increase their sales in the global market. Also, I am a trainer at Nova Posta Business School. Our school provides program designed by industry experts and to help businesses grow and succeed in international markets too. Also, as you know, about challenges and about the problems and some export barriers and logistic and supply chain barriers. As you know, many transportation routes has been disrupted and key export hubs have been damaged. As you know, a lot of our points also was damaged because of war. Airports are closed, and for us, it's also a big challenge to be fast and easy, to make fast and easy deliveries. As many businesses strive to maintain their operation, logistics has become an even more complex challenges. Cross-border trade is vital, yet businesses face bottlenecks at border checkpoints. As you know, our gate is Poland, and our audience and speakers before told many information about this border. It's so hard and to be fast because of some cross-border problems, of course. Our customers has limited access to global shipping routes, and these factors disrupt the supply chain and restrict Ukrainians' ability to connect with the global markets. But we invest, and as you know, we have now Supernova Airlines. It's a newly born company, and the company has already secured its first Boeing 737 freighter aircraft, and soon will start charter and schedule operation to Europe and United States, and from United States to Europe. It's our challenge, of course, for sure, because we never worked before as this airlines company. So I hope we will start, and our dreams, we will start our operational charter and schedule operations in Ukraine. It's a big chance for us, and I hope after victory of Ukraine, we will do that. So I will be happy to answer all questions, and maybe I will help our audience with the logistic, because I'm like logistic expert. So I hope I will help with issues, because I heard Galina has troubles with the logistics. So I'm here to help from all group of companies Nova Poshta.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elena. And I hope you and Helena get a chance to chat after this conference. Over to Yuri. Yuri, we'd love to hear about Logistics Plus, some of the challenges you have as a logistics company, and some of the innovations you've adopted to keep your operations running as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Yuri Stapik. I'm a Chief Operating Officer of Logistics Plus. We're a privately held company. We're in about 50 different countries with 80 offices overall. And I'm originally born in Ivano-Frankivsk, so Ukraine is a very dear to my heart. And since we've been in Ukraine since 2012, but just recently, since the war, we really actively entered Ukrainian market and are actively trying to create new logistic solutions and help Ukraine, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's humanitarian goods, but as well as policy in Washington. This policy in Washington is really, really important, and it directly reflects some policy of Ukrainian government as well. And I know we're talking a lot about different types of challenges and kind of logistical challenges, but one of the big challenges that I see is still kind of a lot of bureaucracy on the government side, still some corruption and just difficulty in doing business. And one of the things that we are trying to spearhead in DC is to kind of push Ukrainian government to create reforms. And these reforms should be, based on entrepreneurship. They should be based on kind of, allowing, because the way for Ukraine to overcome the destruction of its infrastructure and everything else is through sustainable and good businesses. And businesses with United States and Western Europe, and not necessarily, kind of China or other adversaries, so to say. And even after the war, I mean, there will be a vacuum, and if there is a lot of bureaucracy, US companies will not want to enter Ukrainian markets, and even vice versa. So I think it's an extremely logistical challenges are absolutely huge. It's contested logistics at the time of war. But to me, I think that rebuilding of Ukraine needs to start now. And when we talk about rebuilding, it's not just rebuilding the bridges and the roads, it's rebuilding and going towards European standard, whether it's on the IT infrastructure, whether it's on the way the business is done, and not overcomplicate or have huge bureaucracy. On the logistics side, obviously, we're hearing a lot of the issues that people are having, and actually, and fascinating about Nova Global. We know you guys and have worked with you in the US and in constant discussion, and actually run into you guys in DC. And it's amazing to see a Ukrainian company grow and grab a market share this aggressive, but also expand vertically and horizontally. And it's a whole big group of companies. And, so congratulations on that. That's a great success. As far as our presence in Ukraine, what we've been doing, so we were the first Western company to bring in ships into the port of Chernomorsk with infrastructure equipment. We brought about 100,000 metric tons of pipe that went to Naftogaz, and that allows Ukraine to continue to drill and achieve energy independence away from Russia, but also to potentially being able to export and sell gas, as Ukraine is sitting on very large, on very large gas reserves. So, we have an office in Odessa where we, operate with a port, and actually just, so we're headquartered in Erie, Pennsylvania. And we just became a sister city of Chernomorsk because of all the work that we have done there. And, we spoke to the mayor and we spoke to our local leadership here in Erie, and we're able to kind of get officially designated as sister cities, as there's definitely some similarities there. And then we have a big office in Kyiv that does all of our non-project operations, and then we have an office in Ivano-Frankivsk as well. And kind of as part of development of Ukraine and development of this entrepreneurship, and listening to all of you has been absolutely incredible, because each one of you brings such a unique aspect, and the way to do business and finding a way to say yes. And I feel that entrepreneurship kind of it disrupts the old traditional ways of doing business, and it's very much needed. It's not taking no for an answer and figuring stuff out. And I don't remember who mentioned it, by saying, don't be afraid to start doing something, because if you think that somebody else is doing, and I think that's very, very, very good and very relevant. And I think that the government, the government policy, and even the US policy towards some of the aid, I think that it should absolutely reward small businesses, women-owned businesses, entrepreneurship, and provide different types of assistance and different types of grants, and and help these companies to get started, to have access to other markets. And simply, it's a well-established practice in the US where a certain amount of either rather government contract or even some of the private companies designate a portion of their business to either, again, women-owned businesses, small businesses, veteran-owned businesses. And I think that that's going to be critically important for Ukraine. And that's something that we'll continue to push in DC and in Kyiv as far as policy.
Thank you so much, Yuri. And I appreciate your focus on not just the logistical challenges that Ukraine is facing now, but setting up the business environment for resilient supply chains and the supply chains of the future post-war. Elena, I'd like to ask you the next question, which is, what policies or partnerships or approaches should either the private sector or the government of Ukraine be taking now to set up that environment for the future? An environment that would help businesses export and import currently in the current environment, but also post-war, as Ukraine barrels forward toward joining the European Union.
Я вже відповім на український. Дякую для нашої аудиторії, щоб було більш зрозуміліше також. Перш за все, звичайно, ми бачимо в розрізі державної політики, так, як сказав вже Юрій, що є деякі питання там і до корупційних схем і так далі, але в розрізі державної політики є вже деякі зміни для наших експортерів, наприклад. Це для особливо малих і продавців, да, тих, які я супроводжую. Це одне із дуже важливих змін було в політиці в цьому році. Це декларування товарів до 1000 євро, спрощене декларування товарів до 1000 євро. Це просто неймовірно для наших експортерів, особливо малих, особливо кого ми навчаємо в школі бізнесу. Для них це неймовірне спрощення, тому що дійсно це допомагає швидше відправляти без бюрократичних схем, без митних різних документів. Це дуже швидка відправка, і вона є така можливість відправки тільки там у логістичних великих операторів. Це провокує, скажімо так, і відбілювання українського бізнесу, тому що вже відправки можуть офіційно їхати від ФОПів. Те, що ми спостерігали, що дуже велика кількість підприємців працює в такі сірі схеми, коли вони відправляють товари like C2C, да, як C2C відправки. Але зараз вже ми бачимо дуже велику кількість підприємців починають масштабуватись, глобалізуватись, виходити на міжнародні маркетплейси, вже офіційно декларуючи товари і відправлення, що вони виготовили, без всяких корупційних і бюрократичних складнощів. Звичайно, відрегулювати, наприклад, кросбордер, да, кордон, на якому ми стоїмо, також, я думаю, що Юрій підтвердить, не один день. Хоча ми маємо, як величезна компанія, як група компаній, ми маємо авторизованого економічного оператора. Це таке така позиція, що дає нам можливість проїжджати швидше кордон, але, на жаль, це фактично не працює. Нам би хотілося спростити ці моменти також. Ну і, звичайно, я думаю, це вже залежить, так як я вже сказала, залежить від перемоги України. Ми дуже хочемо літати з власних аеропортів. Для нас не складно літати з Європи. Ми пройшли важкий шлях отримання дозволів на європейському континенті, щоб літати в Сполучені Штати своїм літаком. А в Україні ці дозволи ми ще не всі отримали, але дуже хочемо спростити логістику, зробити її швидкою і для наших підприємців, щоб вони не їздили в Польщу, не тримали там ще штат логістів. Ми це можемо. У нас є сертифіковані спеціалісти, сертифіковані фахівці, які знають там як працюють всі авіакомпанії, можуть допомогти з швидкою логістикою за помірною ціною. Це основне, тому що ми розуміємо, щоб український бізнес був максимально представлений за кордоном на міжнародних ринках і був конкурентоспроможний, нам треба мати дуже, скажімо так, економну логістику, і це допоможе. Експортно орієнтована економіка допоможе нашій не тільки державі, а й малому бізнесу бути конкурентоспроможним на світових майданчиках. Це основна наша ціль. Ми працюємо в тому числі як соціальний бізнес, ми надаємо певні і програми для і жінок, і у нас також працює релокейт компанії, які досить близько знаходяться до фронту. Ми допомагаємо, як можемо, нашому бізнесу, і основна наша ціль, щоб цей бізнес все-таки показав якість свого товару і сервісу на інших міжнародних ринках. Це так, якщо коротко.
Thank you so much, Elena. And I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask both of you one last question, which is, from your perspective, and it's similar to the question I asked the entrepreneurship panel. If an organization, a Ukrainian business, would like to start up and export or export its product abroad or import some of the parts that it needs to build its product in Ukraine, but stay in Ukraine and employ Ukrainians and build the Ukrainian economy, what advice would you give them from a personal perspective in terms to encourage them to do so? Over to you, Yuri.
Yeah, honestly, kind of the advice is for them to absolutely to do it and to build their business and not to be afraid to fail, to do it until you are successful. And if you look at a lot of the entrepreneurs, nobody's ever got it right on the first try. And I think that's the key. It's the key to kind of want to do it, to create a good product. Business at times gets kind of overcomplicated. And business is still, you have to have a great product. You have to believe in that product. You have to treat your customers right. And, you can, even now within, war-torn Ukraine, there is still access to foreign markets. There is still, as this conference clearly shows. So, so to me, it's just kind of not to be afraid and just to continue to do it. And even in this difficult market, Ukraine has a lot of companies like, us and Nova Global and others that are able to help with exporting, that are able to help with different type of an advice, and are able to provide structures in other countries as well. So to me, I think that hopefully if hopefully this war is over soon and Ukraine is victorious, and it will become will hopefully follow a path of how kind of, South Korea did. And if you look, they're one of the leaders in manufacturing on everything from military goods to just different types of manufacturing. And I really hope that Ukraine can kind of follow that path, follow that blueprint. So, so to me, I think it's really important just to keep doing, ask for help. And I think that, these conferences super helpful, that allows people to meet kind of new people, understand some of the services challenges, and any challenges can be overcome. So that's my advice.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Yuri. Lena, for the last point on this panel, go ahead.
I'm fully agree with Yuri, for sure. And I would like to add some also points because it's so important for us. We as like Nova Post, who discover European markets and open it a lot of branches now, works at 17 countries in European markets. And I would like advise that biggest companies and small and also middle entities should focus on local collaboration. Building strong relationship with local partners is crucial because they have the one ground knowledge that can make or break operations on small and middle businesses. It's also essential to maintain clear communications with customers to build trust. It's a long way, and I hope with a big company we have a trust from a lot companies in Ukrainian and now in international market also.
Fantastic. Thank you to you both and to all of the panelists here today. We've heard some fantastic logistical challenges and some fantastic advice on how to approach them, innovative partnerships to build around them. And it's amazing to see not only companies, overcoming logistical challenges within Ukraine, but also expanding during this difficult time worldwide. So I really appreciate all of your participation today on these panels, and I will hand it back over to Sarah for our keynote addresses. So thank you. Thanks for participating. Sarah?
Thank you. Thank you to Elena and to Yuri, and thank you, Carrie, for moderating 3 excellent panels, really helpful discussions. I'd like to welcome our final featured speaker of today's conference, Justina Swicka. Justina is a senior international trade specialist and a wonderful colleague with the U.S. Department of Commerce. She's deeply engaged with Ukrainian women entrepreneurs through the SABIT program, the U.S. Department of Commerce's Business Leader Exchange program that works to extend our commercial diplomacy efforts through these activities. Justina, thank you very much for being here.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to all the wonderful panelists. I'm just going to, I know we're almost at the end of our time, so I'll make it quick, but I will also focus on kind of next steps. So to let you know what opportunities the SABIT program, which is a part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, has coming up for Ukrainians. So the next event is actually very exciting. We are again partnering with the W Marketplace, so that's Kate and Susan, to bring the another e-commerce training. It's their W Marketplace Accelerator program, and that'll be taking place in Poland and Romania. The first programs for Poland are going to be here in Warsaw. You can see the dates in January and in Krakow. And then we'll have some training in Romania as well, and a future date. So the program is designed to help Ukrainian women businesses grow. And here are some photos from the training that we arranged this past April. So it was just a wonderful experience. We had about 50 participants come. Some of our Sabbath program alumni came, and a lot of Ukrainian women entrepreneurs from Ukraine came, but also many of them that are currently in Poland. So it was a great experience for everybody to connect. And I would like to highlight, actually one of our speakers was one of our attendees at the workshop. So Olga, there you are, receiving your certificate this past April. All right, and very topically, since this program, this session focused on the supply chain and logistics, our first Sabbath program of the year, where we bring professionals to the United States, is going to be taking place in March of this year. So we'll post information about the application, but the programs bring professionals in your industry for 2 weeks to the United States. It's centered around a trade show. So in this case, it's going to be ProMat, which is going to be in Chicago. But you will also meet with other private companies, government associations, government agencies, industry associations, and oftentimes we include academic programs as well. So it's extremely busy, packed with meetings, but it's very useful. So we encourage all of you in the supply chain industry to apply. All right, and then just a highlight of the next programs that we have coming up that Ukrainians will be able to apply for. So after that, we have waste management. We'll have an energy for Eurasia program, as well as airport development. So please follow us for information about that. So here's we have some of ways to connect with us. We will post the application information on our LinkedIn and on our Facebook site. It will also be a link to it on our main site as part of the SAB program. So yes, I wanted to thank you all again for this wonderful session. It was great to hear all of your very practical challenges and ways that you're trying to kind of solve the issues that you're facing. And I think from the last panel, that was very insightful. You know, just not to give up. No, no entrepreneur succeeds on the first try. So those are very meaningful words. So I want to thank you, and I hope to see you either in Poland, Romania, or here in the United States. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Justina. And a huge thanks to all of our speakers today, and thank you to everyone that joined. The getting together the experience and the expertise is really helpful. I have to say, from working for the Department of Commerce here at the Embassy in Kyiv to, I know the organizers of the conference are going to be relying heavily on the information you've shared. It will be put into recommendations to stakeholders and policymakers within the US, Ukraine, and beyond. And this will help us to accurately define the support and resources needed for women entrepreneurs to play a significant role in rebuilding and the resilience, like we've mentioned today, of Ukraine's economy. I think we're going to have some information on the next conference, which will be in January, and which will be the conference of findings and recommendations. So please join us then. It will be, let's see, the W Marketplace in partnership with the Department of Commerce will release the findings from all 5 of the conferences so far. So it should be a great session. Please visit W Marketplace's website to see the agenda, the details on the speakers, and to register for the 6th virtual conference. We hope you'll be able to join us. There will also be a link in the chat. Finally, I want to personally say a special thank you to a great colleague, Agnes Pawłowska, Ukraine desk officer at the U.S. Department of Commerce. She's been a driving force behind bringing these conferences to life. I also want to say thank you to Kate and to Susan for the opportunity to moderate today's discussion and for all of your tireless work. Thank you, Carrie, for moderating. And finally, thank you again to all of our speakers and panelists for your dedication to supporting Ukrainian women entrepreneurs. It's been personally very interesting and useful for me, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what comes out of the whole series of conferences and the recommendations that are put forward. So this concludes today's presentation. Thank you again for joining us. Happy holidays. Looking forward to seeing you in the new year for the conference on the 14th. Bye.